Hello and welcome to this video, Creating Plugins. In this video, we're going to discuss the various types of plugins. We'll create a lookup plugin, and we'll also create a filter plugin. In Ansible, there are a variety of plugins, and knowingly or unknowingly, you will have already been making use of this throughout the course. For example, when we use the with_items, we are using a built-in lookup plugin called items. The actual source code for this is at the following URL. Pause the video for a moment and take a look. The use of host vars and group vars directory loading is handled by a vars plugin, and again, the source code for this can be found here. If you're interested, again pause the video and take a look. Here's a summary of the different types of plugins that are available, taken from the official Ansible documentation. If you're interested, you can spend some time here reading through at the different types of plugins. Now recall, at the start of the course I mentioned that this was not a Python course and no prior knowledge of Python was necessary. I'm going to stick by this with these examples. I do, however, say as you progress with Ansible, knowledge of Python will greatly benefit you here. Let's take a look at our lookup plugin. We saw in the previous videos with_items being used. So let's make a version of with_items that automatically sorts a given list. Before we do so, on the Ansible documentation, it lists the custom directories that we need to use for plugins. So as we're going to be creating a lookup plugin, we're going to need that second example there as a directory of lookup_plugins. Let's go into revision 1. Okay, and what we're going to do is we're going to create our directory of lookup_plugins. And let's just change to this directory. And when you're creating plugins in Ansible, I recommend that you actually start with a known working example. So here, what we're going to do is we're going to take the source code for the with_items plugin. We're going to use that as our base. I'm going to download this from the Ansible source code tree. Okay, great, that's there, and we're just going to rename this from items to sorted_items. Okay, so let's take a look at this. Okay, we've got our documentation here at the top, and I'm just going to scroll down. Okay, so this first line, from ansible.plugins.lookup import lookup base. This is actually a file which is referenced here. And if we take a look at this, essentially this file is a skeleton for a lookup plugin. If we take a look through, we have a method here called run, which is a comment block. It's not actually implemented. It's what's known as an abstract method, so it's actually expecting you to implement your own version of run that will override this. If we go back to the code and we look at the class that's defined called lookup module, you can actually see there that lookup module is inheriting this lookup base and is therefore bringing in all of the functionality that we saw in the code that we just looked at. Underneath, we have the definition of run. So here, we're overriding the run definition that we saw in the lookup base, which was just quite simply an empty method, and we're implementing the functionality that we require. This one is quite simple. It's literally just doing a one-liner and it's returning a flattened list. What we're going to do here is make some changes to this so the list is sorted. Let's edit this. We go to the word terms. And here we're going to use the Python sorted And within this, we're going to tell it to use the key of string. Let's also change the documentation so that with underscore items becomes with underscore sorted underscore items. I'm going to cheat here. So what we're going to do, I'm going to use a Vim shortcut. I'm going to go from line 1 all the way to the end. And I'm going to search for with underscore items. And I'm going to replace this with underscore sorted underscore items. And I'm going to do this globally. Okay, great. That's looking good. You can actually see there on the examples that this has been updated. Let's save this. Okay, so let's go back one directory. And here we also have an example playbook. And intentionally within this example, we have a list there which is in the wrong order. So what we would actually expect from this, when we actually process the list, rather than us processing the list as 321ZAM, we should actually see it process it as 123AMZ. Let's give that a try. Excellent. So that's worked as expected. You can see from that example how quickly we can turn around plugins if we actually use the Ansible source code as our starting base. Let's pick another type of plugin. For example, filters. Step into revision 2. And what we're going to do here is create a directory called filter underscore plugins. And then we change to this directory. And then again, we're going to grab another example from the Ansible source code tree. And the filter that we're going to create is going to reverse a string and change it all to uppercase. So let's rename this. And then let's edit this example. Okay, so this one has a lot of items that we don't actually need there. You can actually see in this that we've got one of the ones that we actually made reference to earlier. We've got the 2 underscore nice underscore YAML. There's 2 underscore JSON. Lots of different examples that you could actually use. I'm just going to turn on numbering here. Okay, by the look of it, we will want this regex escape. We will use this one as our example, but from here, line 192 and all the way back to 63, we don't actually need. So let's delete those lines, 63 to 192 delete. And we also don't need these either. So this is, let's see, there's quite a lot here from 82. I think all the way down to 440. Let's just double check that. Yep. Okay, so we've really simplified this down. Let's just clean up some of the white space here. Okay, and in this section, we don't actually need a lot of this anymore. Let's find regex underscore escape. And we'll use this example and we'll replace this with reverse underscore upper. Okay, and let's get rid of the rest. So that's line 144. We delete, and then from 86 to 111. Okay, so we've simplified that quite a lot. Let's actually just change our method here and implement the reverse upper functionality. So we change this here. We only need it to take in a string. And this can be quite simple. We'll just get rid of most of this. And we'll change this accordingly. Okay, so this first bit is actually reversing the string, and then the second bit is changing that to uppercase. And whilst we're here, let's just put in a comment. Okay, great. You could probably actually trim down a lot more from the top, but just for this example, we're going to keep this quite simple. We'll leave that there, and let's save this file. Whilst we're here, we can actually test this in Python. So if we run Python 3, and from reverse underscore upper, we import the reverse underscore upper method. Okay, that's worked, and let's just try this. Okay, great. So that's worked as expected. Just going to Control D out of that. And then if we go to the previous directory, and we have a playbook in which we can test this out. So what we're doing in this example, for all of our hosts, we're going to capture the Ansible distribution and we're going to pass it through our filter, which is reverse underscore upper. So what we should actually see there for each of these is something along the lines of reverse and upper of Ansible distribution, and then we will either have the word Ubuntu or CentOS backwards and in uppercase. Let's try this out. Wonderful. Okay, so that's worked as expected. And you can see there the power that we can actually get with plugins, and more importantly, how quickly we can do this if we make use of the versions and examples that are already in the Ansible code tree. That's it for this video and this section. Please join me in the next one, other Ansible resources and areas.